Good morning, Gamecock fans. Today is Monday, August 25th, the year of our Lord 2025. And you're listening to Coffee with JC Shurburtt. Thanks for being with me today. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I know I did. Got a chance to go to Elvis night with the White Sox guaranteed rate field. Kind of a sparse crowd there. Good time with the wife and ready to roll here for college football season in 2025. Week 0 this past weekend. It's kind of a zero for me. I don't know. A lot of good games, or I guess the five that they played came right down to the wire. Some good stories, all that good stuff, crazy stuff over in Dublin. We'll talk about all that tomorrow on JC and Morgan. That gets cranked at 8:15 a.m. That'll be where we settle in for the season with JC and Morgan here on the Chief Sports Network. So that'll be good. Review and preview. Kind of a different week as far as the Gamecock stuff goes. With Labor Day, as you know, we take Labor Day off at Chief just because, that's something we decided we were going to do, and we're going to do it. I'll be traveling back from Atlanta that day. So next Monday, probably not a lot going on except Rooster Rant, which will be Monday evening. That will settle in on Sunday evening. Rooster Rant is kind of the post-game fallout celebration, whatever you want to call it. Alex Jones of the Late Night Gamecock Show on thebigspur.com, also the Late Night Gamecock, Matt Anderson, will be handling that for us this year. That'll be live and interactive. Chief Sports Nana Sports chat box. We'll have that for you. We'll have the tailgate show with myself and the Mad Dog on Sunday morning. Live from Atlanta. We're staying at the Embassy Suites. And they have a nice atrium, so we're going to try to do it live with people around, and that's always a fun show. All the songs and segments that you love from the tailgate show returning this year, and sort of excited, really excited about that. But it'll be Sunday morning with Charles Carrault. Y'all remember that? Some of you probably do. I remember waking up Sunday mornings. It's Sunday morning with Charles Carrault. Voices from the past. Friday, Inside the Gamecocks, the show, Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show. It'll be all one show, 3 hours long. It's called Inside the Gamecocks, the preview show. All the cast of characters, Rafael Esparza from Doc Sports, to get you caught up on the latest lines that he likes during the weekend or week 1 of college football, blockbuster weekend. Obviously, he'll get you in on that Auburn Baylor game before it happens on Friday night. Hate we won't have the Thursday night games, but he'll be in every week. We have John Strickland, Michael Flint, special guests coming in. Chef Will Turner will be by with a recipe or menu item of the week. That's new this year. He's one of our sponsors. A big Gamecock fan, is a private chef out in Arizona. If you're daughter's having a bachelorette party, you're having a boys' weekend, hit him up. Reasonably priced, and the reviews are outstanding. So check that out, Chef Will Turner, and he'll be with us as well. We'll have game picks, myself, Mad Dog, JB. Matt Anderson will join us for an early hour. It'll be a lot of fun. 3 hours on Friday, Inside the Gamecocks, the preview show. Late Night Gamecock show this week. It went on Wednesday night in its normal time spot. And I told you about JC and Morgan, sports talk every night this week, and just a lot of good stuff happening here. Also on thebigspur.com. Check that out. Plenty of coverage of this game for myself and Whittle and Hale and the guys. So it'll be a lot of fun to get this thing kicked off. I think I've said many times that with the way this team was playing last year, most years, even when the Gamecocks are playing pretty well, like in 2022, I'm cool with the end of the season. It was like, well, that's the end of the season, and now we go into recruiting and transfer portal and stuff I like, and maybe there's a coaching change and all that good stuff. Onward and upward. That's really kind of where the sausage is made. In our business, the off season and the immediate off season, November and December. So I'm always looking forward to that. But this past year, man, they were playing so well and winning games in different ways and all that. I mean, the Citrus Bowl aside, you know, when the regular season ended, when the Clemson game was over, I was kind of sad. I had to wait 30 days to see him play again. And then obviously the Citrus Bowl did not turn out the way anybody wanted. But yeah, man. I mean, I felt like it was going to be kind of a long off season because at the time, basketball hadn't started SEC play yet, and that went south. Baseball was a disaster. Women's basketball obviously had a nice run before losing no national championship this year. It was one of those off seasons where the other sports just really weren't, you know, anything to talk about after a certain point. And so, man, but it's here. Football's back, and this team has a chance to be good this year. Things are going to have to bounce their way. Personnel wise, there are things that obviously they're questions until they're not. We think, we don't know. And that's the case with Virginia Tech, Sunday's opponent as well. They've got a lot of new players, 30 plus. That they're counting on in key roles. And here's the difference. South Carolina is going to probably be starting some first time starters. They're also going to be starting some guys that they picked up through the transfer portal. And this is a pretty good sign for the Gamecocks, I think. The majority of South Carolina's players that are projected, the depth chart's not out yet, so who knows? But right now, our best guess, the majority of these guys are first-time starters. Carolina lost some starters, but the majority of them also were on the team last year in the program. You look on the D line. We'll start there. Brian Thomas Jr. in his fourth year with the program. Nick Barrett, fifth year with the program. You have Markel Goodwine, second year with the program. Dylan Stewart, second year with the program. Fred Johnson, second year with the program. Now, Sean Murphy, Justin O, they're probably one of those two will start. I think it'll most likely be Murphy, and they're not. They're transfer portal pickups. Jerron Willis, though, veteran within the program. Brandon Cisse is a transfer portal pickup, but you also have Vakari Swain, who's in his third year. You have Judge Collier, who's in his third year. On the back end, Hugh Smith is a fourth year guy. Peyton Williams, fourth year guy. David Busey, second year guy. So defensively, offensively, we'll go to that side of the ball real quick. Josiah Thompson, second year. Now, Shed Surratt, if he starts, he's a freshman, so a newcomer. Boaz Stanley, newcomer from the portal. Beside him, Travon Ball, third year with the program. Kason Henry and Tree Babalade both are veterans. The tight ends, Michael Smith is in his second year. Brady Hunt's in his second year with the program. Maurice Brown, second year with the program. Maybe third year with the program for him. Jordan Dingle is a transfer portal guy. Now, the wide receivers, your probable starters are Nick Harbor, Jared Brown, and Mazio Bennett. All those guys have been with the program. Lenore Sellers, second year with the program. Running back, if it's, man, I don't know about this, the Faison thing. I have no update, so we'll see. We'll see if he gets cleared this week. I mean, it's absolutely insane that they've left this guy in limbo like that, but don't want to get too far off track. But if it's Attaway, second year with the program, seventh year in college football. Isaiah Augustov is a newcomer. Faison is a newcomer. So that position, you've got some new guys. And obviously, you're going to have some rotation guys that get in that are new. Mason Love, kicker, punter, it is his second year with the program. It's his first year starting. So if you look at South Carolina's too deep, the vast majority of the guys have been with the program. They just haven't started. It's kind of a normal college football thing. You're replacing guys from last year. The question's going to be, how good are they, that kind of thing. And, if you go off height, weight, speed, freakiness, there's a lot of guys that, should be good. Doesn't mean they're going to be good, but should be good. Virginia Tech, though, you kind of look at that, and I did happen to read an article on VT Scoop That's our 24/7 sports site. I helped start that site way back when, and they're good people, Evan Watkins and those guys. Was reading from them. Um, there are some players kind of like at Carolina that have not played but have been on the team. Wide receiver Aiden Green is one of those to kind of watch. Offensive tackle Johnny Garrett, 6'5", 318, was kind of a developmental guy when they signed him. He's projected to start at left tackle for them, so he may have to match up with number 6. Who knows there? Kamari Copeland is a defensive tackle they think will take a step. Safety Quentin Reddish is a really good player, 6'3", 200. Blocked a field goal, I think, for a touchdown against Clemson. I don't know if he returned it, but he blocked it. Led to the Hokies' only relevant touchdown in that football game in Blacksburg. They lost 24-14 last year. You know, Keelan Adams is a player that Carolina fans really wanted to get in recruiting. He ended up staying home and going to Virginia Tech. He's been hurt. He's back healthy now. Caleb Woodson is a 6'3", 230-pound linebacker they think will come into his own. Benji Gosnell, the tight end, is a veteran. Of course, we know all about Kyron Jones, our drones. Kyron Drones. I got to say that right this week, JC. Their quarterback and all that. But when you look at their two deep, and this is projected from our lads, it is full of transfer portal guys. So that's the difference. You know, Donovan Green is a receiver that's scheduled to start. Came in from Wake Forest. Cam Seldon, we've talked about him. They're going to use him like Deebo Samuel. He came in from Tennessee. A player they're really excited about on the offensive line. And like, look, these two guys they brought in from West Virginia. They got West Virginia's offensive line coach and brought in right tackle Tomas Remack and center Kyle Altuner. These guys could be problematic. I mean, they're good players from West Virginia that they brought in, especially Remack is a player they've talked about a lot. Running back Terrion Stewart comes in from Bowling Green. They also have Braden Bennett. They brought in Brandon Bennett's son from Coastal. So, yeah, they've got some guys that are, supposed to be pretty good players, but they're from the portal. On defense, the two ends that are projected are older guys, Ben Bell and James Jonkim. Eastern Michigan is James. Ben came in from Texas State. We've talked about Ben Bell, 10 sacks 2 years ago and was hurt. Now, Copeland and Gilliam, Kevin Gilliam's a player Carolina recruited. They're both your older defensive tackles. I've mentioned Woodson. Tyson Flowers is a transfer player in the secondary. Isaiah Murray Brown is another transfer player from East Carolina in the secondary. So they've kind of had to rebuild. The difference is, Carolina, linebacker, center, one of the corner spots, because Cisse is just too good to not start. Those are all going to be man running back if Faison's cleared. And, I'm sure a transfer portal running back or two will get some minutes, get some snaps, right? Most of Carolina's guys at least were with the program last year. These are all a lot of new players for Virginia Tech. Now, that could be good or bad because when you're scouting a team, you're watching film on a team, and they've had to watch a bunch of film because there's two new coordinators and all that. You're not only getting an idea of the scheme, you're getting an idea of the players. Matchups, who's good, who's not. So all these guys came from other places. Shane Beamer said this about Old Dominion last year. Old Dominion had a lot of new players and had that funky defensive scheme. And it gave Carolina some problems, obviously, in that game. And the Gamecocks escaped with a win. Played one of their worst games of the year. That game to me probably was it was probably worse than Ole Miss. Ole Miss held the Gamecocks without a touchdown. That was tough. Not only did Old Dominion nearly win the game, and Carolina needed a late turnover inside the 10 to get back. Carolina blew a 16-7 lead. That doesn't sound like much, but in a game like that, you're sitting there up 16-7. You're like, you tack on a couple of touchdowns, it's 30-7. That's it. but it never happened. So and look, that Old Dominion game, here's a big difference. Lenore Sellers isn't making his first start. I mean, he's got a whole season I mean, he's an older player. The venue's different. The venue is going to be a neutral site game, national TV, national spotlight against a Power Four football team with great tradition and a program that through the years, and thanks in no small part to Shane Beamer's dad, Frank, believes it should win. You know, they've been 500 or so, and it's not uh, it's not just okay to just beat Virginia every year and go to a bowl at Virginia Tech. They have high standards, and that matters. You know, because when you're trying to get your players to buy in, and they're in a program like that, it's they don't know. Virginia Tech is such a mystery right now. They don't know if they're going to be really good or really bad. They've only been practicing against themselves. One of their players was quoted as saying, "We're tired of playing against our team. We want to play somebody else," and that's true. You know, in football, so they don't know that they're good or bad or what. Really, neither does Carolina. They have a pretty good idea, but so that's why sometimes you see some very close games in openers, and you look back at it, like Old Dominion, for example. I mean, there's no way Old Dominion should stay on the field with Carolina, much less almost beat them. But it was an opener. So that's why you get these wacky results sometimes in openers, or you have a game where you escape and you win, but there's a lot to work on between week one and week two. That's why they also say you make your most improvement between week one and week two. You know, so we'll see what happens. But the difference, Carolina's got a lot of new players. Virginia Tech has a lot of new players. The difference is not all, most of Carolina's frontline players are not new to the Gamecock program, which I think I had an episode a couple of weeks ago called "It's Called Recruiting." That's why it's called recruiting. It's just it's so beneficial when you've got a guy that can step in that's been there, that's been a backup. I mean, that's just the natural progression of college football. I think we get kind of caught up in the portal sometimes, and we just want to say, well, everybody on the roster sucks. So let's go get replacements and mercenaries, and that's the best way to do it. It's not. It never has been. I mean, and I'm not the only one that sits there and thinks that. Phil Steele says it too. If you got a lot of new players, you know, Phil's probably not going to rank you very high. That's probably why he's not ranking the Gamecocks very high, because of what they lost. And you did have a larger number of incoming freshmen and portal guys. So a good chunk of the roster is new. But there's not very many of those dudes that are like in the two deep. There are some, but not a ton. So there's that, you know. So problematic matchups, I think, depending on where Dylan Stewart lines up with Remack, I think he's good enough. I don't know if anybody's good enough to block Dylan Stewart, but he's a good player. Their right tackle, according to the Our Lads depth chart, he came from West Virginia. They're excited about him. You know, so can he, if let's say his matchups with Thomas or one of the other edges, can he hold them off? Can they run it on the outside with Stewart and drones? You know, that's a question. Gamecocks are going to have to tackle well, obviously, especially when it comes to the quarterback. Defensively, you know, this offensive line is supposed to be better. It's certainly bigger. The reports out of camp are good. Uh, they have to go do it. And it's been an adventure up there. And, you know, this is a defensive line that could be problematic. You know, Copeland and Gilliam have played a lot of football, a lot like Goodwine and Barrett for the Gamecocks. And I mentioned the two defensive ends they got from the group of five level. They're both good players. I mean, don't let the group of five thing fool you. Especially Bell rushing the passer. He's relentless. So Josiah Thompson, whoever the right tackle is, they're going to have good games and keep those guys off of Sellers. Caleb Woodson at linebacker and Quentin Reddish at safety are kind of look like South Carolina's linebackers and DBs, big, tall, long guys that can wreak havoc. Scheme wise, it's going to be, like I said, it'll be an adventure. Philip Montgomery, Art Briles coaching tree, coached for Skip Holtz in the UFL last year. Also coached at Auburn with Hugh Freeze, and that did not go well. So, I mean, what are they going to get from him? Brent Pry is a defensive minded coach. Sometimes defensive minded coaches don't like to go fast. My gut feeling is they're going to try to go fast because they know Carolina's got some first time starters on defense. And, they may be the opposite of Illinois. Illinois tried to kind of slow it down, make the game a plotting game, and they pulled the upset. But what will Virginia Tech do? Maybe they try to go fast, surprise the Gamecocks, catch them off balance, get a score or two early based on it, based on what the Gamecocks are doing. Young linebacker steps in the wrong gap, that kind of thing. So that's kind of my gut on it, but you don't really know. You don't really know. And it was a hire in Blacksburg that I think the recency bias, people kind of looked at Auburn and, oh, he was in the UFL. What are you doing? That kind of thing. But if you look back, he was the head coach at Tulsa, Philip Montgomery, for a long time. So he's a head coach, but before that, he's on that Baylor staff that really did such a fantastic job with offense. And that's kind of his background. And then Sam Sifkus is their D coordinator. I like this guy, quite a bit. He was at Wofford 2018 to 2020. I thought for some reason he's at William and Mary, but he's at Wofford. I am an idiot for saying that. Went to Wisconsin. Lacrosse is a Wisconsin native. Those guys can coach. Graduate assistant under Dave Aranda at Wisconsin. Coached at Wisconsin Platteville. A lot of W's. That's probably why I'm sitting there thinking that. D coordinator at Wofford from 2018 to 2020. They won the Southern Conference Championship in 18. Really good defense up at Wofford. And then, the pandemic hit and he goes to Minnesota and then coached for the Arizona Cardinals last year, Minnesota Vikings. So he's been in the NFL. So, I don't know what this guy is going to do. I'd have to go back maybe and look at what Wofford did. Seems like they were a 3-down team. Looks like 4 down here. He's supposed to be very creative, exotic blitzes. I've mentioned before, Bud Foster is helping with being an analyst and maybe even could be in the booth. So, who knows what kind of alignment they'll get, that kind of thing. I'm sure Mike Shula's watching the tape and all that. So, yeah, it's a game that when you look at it on paper, because I know the Gamecock personnel a lot better than Virginia Tech's personnel and all that. And you kind of look at the size and the speed and all that good stuff. And, you probably think Carolina's got better players. And look, I'm pretty sure they do, top to bottom, but talent wise. But what would be a concern would be if some of these guys are actually really good that Virginia Tech got from the portal, and then some of the guys they've recruited that have been hurt or that are back. The receivers. I mean, you start reading about their receivers, and it's not just Green and Green, Donovan Green and Aiden Green, and we know about Keelan Adams, who Carolina recruited. You've got Tyke Heath, who's had a really, really good camp. He's really done a fantastic job up there and kind of been one of the stories for camp. You know what I'm saying? So that's a guy. Tucker Holloway is a player that fast guy from North Carolina. Hadn't gotten a whole lot of media attention, but he's from Andrews and is a really good player. Fast guy. And the speed of Virginia Tech is going to be something I think they try to use against the Gamecocks. Gamecocks are not slow on defense. But when you're talking about stopping a program, or I'm sorry, an offense that goes fast, if they choose to do that, and all that. You got drones and you got to worry about that stuff. You want to get these matchups. And then what happens when you have speed like Holloway does, and like a lot of these guys do, they find an open space in your defense, you blow a coverage, and instead of running for 17, 20 yards, you're in the end zone. It's the same concept as why Rasul Faison needs to get eligible. And so their speed at receiver is another concern. Now, Carolina's got a fantastic secondary, but the defense, Clayton White's defense, they'll gamble sometimes and leave corners on an island. And if a guy's fast and gets a step on you and he's past you, it just takes a good pass and the band's playing. So we'll see. I wonder if Virginia Tech brings both. Virginia Tech has two marching bands. They have one that's kind of associated with their military. I think they're called the Heidi Tidies or something. And then they have their traditional marching band. So I don't know what will happen there. But they did release their uniforms. Carolina has yet to do it. Now, Virginia Tech's the visiting team, and they're wearing their all orange with the white helmets. So they did a nice video from Waffle House. I thought that was kind of cool. So we'll see what the Gamecocks wear. My guess is because the university released something that said wear garnet in Atlanta, my guess is it's going to be some kind of garnet. Uh, Not all garnet with black helmets. What do you guys think about that? I don't know. I'm like, I'm good with whatever. Hey, the big game garnets with the white helmets from the Spurrier era. That sounds nice. Who knows? But it looks like both teams will kind of be wearing, nobody's going to be wearing white. But we'll see. Maybe it's the all white with the garnet helmets for the Gamecocks. But the Gamecocks are the home team, so they get to decide. But I think on these neutral site games, you're allowed to do whatever. So that will be that. The last five meetings between the Gamecocks and Hokies all were against Frank Beamer coach teams, the early Frank Beamer teams. Gamecocks were 3-0-2, starting with a 40-10 win at 87. 88, they won in Blacksburg 26-24, kind of escaped with their lives there. That was kind of the beginning of the end. Twice in my lifetime have the Gamecocks been like in the top 10, and then around midseason things start to fall apart. One was Spurrier's third year in '07, and those warning signs it was kind of weird because those 88 and '07 kind of mirrored each other, but there was no scandal. 88, there was a steroid scandal and all that. But in '88, Carolina's like sixth in the country. They go to Virginia Tech and survive. That Virginia Tech team, I think, finished 3-8. The next week or the next game, they play Georgia Tech in Atlanta. Georgia Tech finished 3-8. Georgia Tech beat them 34-0. And that was the beginning of the end. Now, that team did beat NC State on the road, got throttled by Clemson, and Florida State beat them 59-0. Deion Sanders was on that team. Ended up losing to Indiana by 24 points in the Liberty Bowl. Joe Morrison passed away. Man, that team just unraveled, And in '07, close game against North Carolina on the road. And they come back against a team with a gold helmet that they should have beaten, Vanderbilt, and they didn't. Lost out, and the only time Spurrier coached the whole season and did not go to a bowl here. They did finish 6-6, but I remember that Virginia Tech game because it wasn't a game where South Carolina, given they were ranked sixth, seventh, eighth in the country, should have struggled like that, but it was a dogfight all day. In '88, '89 was a tie. I remember I was at that game because my mom took me. 90, Carolina rallied from 24-13 down in the fourth quarter and won 35-24. Just one of those great comebacks. Bobby Fuller did that. And then 91, last time they played, Carolina won 28-21, one of three wins that year for the Gamecocks, who got off to a 3-2-2 start, lost their last four, and then got thrown into the deep end of the pool the next year, being in the SEC. Their games scheduled in the future with Virginia Tech, 2033, 2034. I don't know if those are going to be played, folks. With the SEC going to 9 games, I think all bets are off with future non-conference scheduling. We'll see kind of how it evolves. But yeah, those 5 games, Carolina, they have not lost to Virginia Tech since I kind of started following it closely in '86. Gamecocks lead the overall series 11-7-2 against the Hokies. Hokies used to be part of the Metro Conference, which was not a football conference, but Carolina played a lot of basketball games at Castle Coliseum over the years, baseball series in that sport and those other sports as well. Oh, Virginia Tech is now an ACC school. They were Big East for a while and went in the ACC, I think, in '04, '05, something like that. So, and they've been successful. I mean, it's a successful program. And their athletic director came out and talked about a $200 million need for Hokie athletics. I don't know about the timing of that, but because they're an ACC program, the money's not as great in that conference. If you don't win, it's really not as great, So Clemson's going to make money. I'm not going to say Florida State because they're not winning right now, but the schools that win in that league are going to get. It's going to be like the Big 12. So they've kind of in the NIL era. It doesn't make a lot of sense because they got a large, passionate fan base, but they've been kind of hurting for money a little bit, like everybody. I mean, it's not like Carolina is Scrooge McDuck throwing gold pieces at everybody or anything, but they're kind of in the wilderness a little bit as a program since Beamer left. They hired Fuente, it didn't work out, so they go with kind of the familiar guy with Brent Pry, who had a lot of support. And he's been solid. The second year they were the best. 3-8 his first year. Second year 7-6. They won the Military Bowl against Tulane last year, 6-7, and had high expectations. But Drones was hurt all season, and things just a lot of close losses. You remember Old Dominion coming in to last season. And that opener, a lot of close losses for them. And the Monarchs actually had a lot of close losses as the season went on last season. But Virginia Tech had some heartbreakers. I mean, the game in Miami, I'll never forget. I thought they'd won the game with a long touchdown Hail Mary at the end. They called it a touchdown on the field, and the ACC office overruled it after a long debate. So I think the league let them get away with that. But a lot of the players on that team, Tootin, the running back, Lane, the receiver, the guys in the secondary that went to LSU that are going to start for them, at least one of them, the offensive tackle that went to Auburn, those guys are all gone. So they're going to have to replace those guys with new players. So the question's going to come down to this. Who replaced their players best? South Carolina or Virginia Tech? Plus, it's an opener. So there's just a lot of questions here. I think South Carolina should win the game, but, I really, it just depends. It just kind of depends on how good these guys are from Blacksburg. I have an idea about Carolina's players because I look at it, but, based on I guess, knowledge and word of mouth. Not a lot of confidence in Blacksburg right now, but there was not a lot of confidence in Columbia last year about a lot of the portal guys that Shane Beamer signed. And it absolutely, if you're Virginia Tech, you absolutely can sign players just like Demetrius Knight and Kyle Kennard. Those guys are kind of under Torricelli Simpkins. Those guys are kind of under the radar. So you don't know if they've got a good batch, a bad batch, a whole patch batch, which means they're just okay. They're competitive. So there's a lot to unravel for this game, but it is game week, folks. Gamecocks are more than a touchdown favorite. I think 7.5 was the latest line. Kickoff 3 p.m. Sunday from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Wrap it up here on Coffee. We'll just say this. Speaking of the state of Virginia, the Darius Gray commit happened on Friday. Picked the Gamecocks over LSU and Tennessee and a host of others. 5-star interior offensive lineman from Richmond. Big pickup for Shane Beamer, Lonnie Teasley, Darren Usher, and the group. Those guys, continue to recruit well. This is the the fourth five-star prospect they've signed in the Beamer era, the third one from out of state, which this includes Dylan Stewart and Nick Harbor. And now Darius Gray. It's a different state. It's not D.C., it's Virginia. He's from Richmond, which is south of D.C. And look, Carolina continues to make inroads in Virginia. That's a loaded state for football. And the kids have shown they'll leave the state. And they're a little more open to coming to like a South Carolina than maybe the North Carolina kids have been historically, where it's been about brand. So a good pickup for the Gamecocks. The NIL stuff aligned for that. LSU really recruited him hard and tried to make their case. But at the end of the day, the stronger, longer theory prevailed. Gamecocks have been recruiting him for a long, long time, had a great relationship, and he's coming to South Carolina. So nice pickup for the Gamecocks on the heels of Kamari Blair flipping to wherever, to Tennessee. Another good offensive lineman. This guy, high floor, very, very athletic, probably the most athletic interior guy. I said this last week, Shed Surratt may be that guy. Yeah, meme on Instagram. You're not that guy, dude. You're not that guy. He's maybe that guy. But, since AJ can, like the type of interior offensive lineman, this guy is that he's probably maybe a little more athletic than AJ. AJ is one of the more athletic offensive linemen Carolina's ever signed. Obviously went right on to the NFL, played really well here. So Darius Gray, he's a stud. And a high floor guy. I expect him to make a move. Wouldn't it be crazy if he comes in and starts next year and it's 3 straight years of starting a true freshman on the offensive line at Carolina? That's why you recruit, though. And we will see, because if Ball and Surratt are the starter, I mean, maybe Darius won't quite make it, right? So, who knows? But I as a starter, but I'm really high on him. I think he's a really athletic. He's exactly what you want when you're recruiting offensive lineman. He can play up all 5 positions too. I mean, just because he's like 6'3.5" doesn't mean he couldn't play tackle. I mean, I think that's what a lot of schools liked about him is athleticism's off the chart, and gosh, he could slide out and play whatever. So Darius Gray is in. Caden Ramsey is on the clock, the tight end, athlete, wide receiver, whatever you want to call him, from Cross High School within the state. And then it's up to it's flip time or below the radar time for the Gamecocks recruiting efforts, and that's okay. I'm ready for the actual players to start playing football, and obviously, we'll keep you updated on recruiting and all that. All right, don't forget the morning show coming up. Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show at 10. Pat DeMarco is in. Mike Morgan is in. It's Mad Dog Monday on the show. I got to kind of figure out what that is. Am I going to start doing some Mad Dog? We're going to do a Mad Dog Minute or something, but it's Mad Dog Monday. We'll see all of you Club Chief members in the Nana Sports chat box if you'd like to join Club Chief. Instructions are right there on our YouTube channel. If you have trouble with your Club Chief membership, contact Google, because there's no function for us at all. Like, we can't go in and change things. We can't give one away for free. If I could figure out a way to change that, I probably would. But it's only $4.99 a month through Google. And certainly it supports the show and Chief and the Big Spur and all that we do here for you guys. Okay, sports talk tonight from 6 to 8. And I'll be back tomorrow morning with more coffee as we continue to count down to Gamecock kickoff in 2025. I'm JC Shurburtt. Holla at you soon.
JC and Mad Dog Bully.